Hi guys, welcome back to Classic Rock on Waxing On. It's Classic Rock Wednesday. And today we're going to look at a band that's been around for quite a few years. So many of the groups I talk about, I say I got introduced to them through public television. This is one that FM radio brought to me. You got to remember back in the 70s, at least where I was, FM radio was kind of a new thing. We had alternative music other than just the hits that you'd often heard on AM radio. And this is where I first heard this band, and it was George Thorogood and the Delaware Destroyers. And that's who we're going to look at today. Now, before I get to the CD I had some George Thorogood on 8-track. And I think the first one that really exposed me to how interesting this band was the album Moving On Over. George Thorogood's take on Hank Williams' tune. And it was a great album, some great guitar playing, a fired up band. And that was one I had purchased on 8-track. The other one I had was George Thorogood and the Destroyers, his first release. Now these albums, again, a lot of classic blues. We had Willie Dixon, we had John Lee Hooker, we had, Chuck Berry was in there doing some stuff, Elmore James. A lot of classic blues artists, and it was being covered in a rock style with George Thorogood's small group, the Destroyers. These are both classic, and I wish I had my 8-tracks that I could have gone over more details than what were on them. But a lot of classic tunes. If you go to Wikipedia, you'll see all the list of what songs are on there and who the artists are that had written them. And it was just some excellent stuff. Now, George Thorogood over the years has recorded an awful lot of albums. And again, just to let people know, a lot of the albums I talk about on here, I'm not saying that these are the best these bands or artists ever did. They just happen to be what's in my record collection. Because you got to remember, that's what this show is about. I'm just going through my collection, pulling out albums from people that I collected. So there may be lots of great albums out there. And again, I'm not going to get a chance to talk to the first two because obviously my 8-tracks and cassettes are somewhere unknown. But what I did get, I went back and bought another one of my favorites, our live albums, George Thorogood Live. And this one came out, I'm going to say mid-'80s. He's using the Delaware Destroyers again. We're listening to George Thorogood, obviously rhythm, slide, guitar, and vocals. We got Bill Blau on bass, Hank Hurricane Carter on saxes, Sleeveless Steve Krismar on rhythm section and lead guitar, and Jeff Simmons on drums, and H-Bomb Ferguson on the maracas. There you go. It was a live performance recorded for a food bank back in the 1980s. And again, just some classic tunes. Just to give you some idea what he has on here. We've got Bo Diddley's Who Do You Love? And it's a classic tune to begin with, Bo Diddley being another great artist. And George Thorogood's take on it is just excellent. Bottom of the Sea, Nighttime, I Drink Alone, One Bourbon, One Scotch, One Beer by John Lee Hooker. We've got Alley Oop, The Madison Blues, Bad to the Bone, Sky is Crying, and Reelin' and a Rockin'. Some classic Thorogood in there. Now, unfortunately, Moving On Over, which again was my introduction to him, and of course one of my favorite songs because of that, didn't make it on the album. Don't know why, but the rest of the album is a classic set. And it's got some fun Thorogood vocals. It's got that classic slide guitar and soloing by George Thorogood and a band that's on fire. And again, I always love the live albums because that gives you an idea what you're in for if you ever go to a show. Studio albums are one thing, but sometimes the production takes over the album. Live albums, you're getting an insight into what you're going to see when you spend your dollar to go and buy a ticket. So, live albums always one of my favorites. And again, this one was a good one for a good cross-section, a great introduction to George Thorogood. It's, again, just entitled George Thorogood Live. And came out about the mid-'80s. So if you get a chance, check it out. Obviously, Thorogood, he is going to be on the streaming networks, going to be on YouTube. You can still buy hard copies, so lots of places to go to get a chance to listen to his music. And if you're using streaming networks, take a look at which networks are available, because not all of them pay the same amount to the artist. So try and use one that the artist gets a few extra bucks out of it. Okay, that's it for today on Classic Rock. It was George Thorogood. We'll see you on Friday when we're looking at a different type of blues. Till then, everybody take care. Thanks for stopping by, and we'll see you on Friday.